In this little video, we're going to look at how we use Excel for normal distribution calculations. And as well as that, I'm going to look at how we draw a histogram in Excel, and also how we use a summary of statistics called Descriptive Statistics. So first of all, we'll look at normal distribution. And normal distribution, it doesn't need any data into it. You're going to just define the parameters of normal distribution as we know them. And there's two kind of main functions that we're going to use here. Now, like in other functions, we always start with an equals. And if I start to type normal, we get normal.dist and normal.in. I'm going to look at the normal.dist first, because this is the first normal distribution function we're going to look at. And we use this for determining the probability of something happening. So if we wanted to find the probability of a value that we want to test, which in this case is x, our mean and our standard deviation. So say we want to find out the probability of a value less than 110. Who knows what we're measuring? With a mean of 100, so it's to the right of that if you think you're a bell curve, and with a standard deviation of 5. If I want to test another value, say 120 or 115, I would just change it in there. And once I hit comma, the last one we come up against is whether we want a cumulative distribution function or a probability mass function. We want to use the cumulative distribution function. Now we can type in true or just double click the true and close our brackets. So the usage of it is the value you want to test, then the value for the mean and the standard deviation separated by a comma, and then true all the time, and it'll return a probability of that. So in this case, that's 0.99865. If I wanted to go and change that value for something a bit smaller, so say 108, same thing, 0.9452. And that's how we work out, use the normal distribution function for that. What if, though, we want to work out the value or otherwise? So what we're really looking for is the inverse, or the inverse looking up of that table. Now, it's the other function that we use. It's the normal.inv. And its usage is we stick in the probability, the mean and the standard deviation. And the probability is the amount from the very left. So what this will return is the value at which these happen for a given mean and a given standard deviation. So if I wanted to see what value, say 12% in would be, what we've got to do is we have to define this number as a decimal. So 12% from the left is 0.12. If I wanted to do 40%, I would do 0.4, for instance. And the same idea, you stick in your mean and your standard deviation that are separated by a comma. There's no true or false bit at the end, and I would pop in. And for a mean of 100, the inverse normal distribution function for 12% in is 94.152. If I wanted to test the other side of the curve, or the right hand side of the curve, what I would need to do is put the cumulative percentage at that point. So say I wanted to test the top 20%. Well, I couldn't put in 20% because that would just give me 20% from the left, or 0.2. I would have to put in 0.8. So I'll use the function normal.inv, and I'm going to stick in my probability. In this case is 0.8, 100, and a standard deviation of 5. And that'll return the value which would make that happen. And that's 104.28. And that is how we do normal distribution. If I want to draw a histogram, histograms can be done in pen and paper just fine, but they can also be done in Excel. Most people think they should go and grab the insert recommended charts and grab one of these ones here, but none of these actually are a histogram, and by default it's not turned on, and both the histogram and the descriptive statistics are actually hidden away a little bit at the back. So what I want to do is go into the File, and options. And when you go into Excel options, you'll have a number of things that you can change here, but the one we want to add or look into is the add-ins here down the left hand side. And if I click add-ins and go down the bottom here to manage Excel add-ins and hit go, you'll see that the add-ins that are available, none of them are selected. I want to have the analysis toolpack turned on. I'll check it and then hit OK. The difference that makes is when I go along my little bar at the top and go to data, I get an extra bit at the right that it wasn't there before. We could have looked beforehand and probably should have looked beforehand, but it is now appeared. Called data analysis. And when I click data analysis, it brings up another menu. And one of the options that I have therein is for a histogram. And if I hit OK, it'll let me put some options in here. Now, it has an input range and a bin range. Input range is basically the values that I want to test. So I can either click inside there and click and drag a box around the values that I want to test, or hit the arrow and click and drag. In this case, I'm going to click and drag from A8 to A25. The bin range is the range of values that I want to split up. And I've got them set up here as 20, 24, 30, 37 and 40. And to be clear, what these actually stand for is the end values continuing on from the last. So the 20 actually stands for 0 to 20. 24 stands for 21, because it's the next value after 20 to 24. 25 to 30 is the 30. 31 to 37 and 38 to 40 are there. So I want to select that as my bin range. All good. So once I've got that done, I am going to click the output range button. Now, what I really want to do is pick a cell to stick it in. I don't want to stick it in the left here. I want to stick it in kind of over here somewhere. So basically, this is the top left-hand cell that's where my chart's going to fall out into, basically. I could put it in a new worksheet. I could put it in a new workbook. That would be okay, but we've no need to. And other than that, the only thing we need to check is chart output, is that we want a chart. Once I've got that done, I'll just click OK, and it will produce what is roughly a histogram, but not the histogram that we know. Now, what I really want to do is properly label my bits down the bottom and properly label and get rid of some of these other titles. So first thing to do is I'm going to get rid of this legend thing in the right, or this key in the right. There's no need for it. I'm going to get rid of frequency. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And I'm also going to change my categories so that they're a bit closer to what I want. So in this case, that is not the 20. And it will change my bit down below. This is 21 to 24. This is 25 to 30. This is 31 to 37. This is 38 to 40. You see you have more at the bottom. What that really stands for is anything greater than 40, and I'm going to make that 40 plus. You'll also see that histogram doesn't have spaces between the bars, so I'll have to change that. So what I'm going to have to do, if I right click one of the bars and then go to format data series, and turn our gap width down as well. So I'll make sure we've got a fill color set and a gap width down to 0 on the very right, and then click off, and there is our histogram. You might even want to have a title. Last but not least is our descriptive statistics. And descriptive statistics will just basically take the set of data that you want to test and then give you the common, measurements for that amount. So say I want to do it for this set of data here. It's done in very much the same way as the histogram. I'm going to go to data, data analysis, and if I go on this menu here, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down, you see descriptive statistics. I'm going to click that, and it's very much as you would expect beforehand. So the input range I am going to set up as this set of data, but I'm going to include the first row, which is the number of students. And click, if I include the header at the top, I can use the labels in the first row. If I just selected the data, it wouldn't use the labels in the top row. And I'm going to do the same thing as before and pick the output range and tell it to dump it out here. And it'll go from the top left to the bottom right from there. The only other thing we need to do is click Summary Statistics. And once we've got that done, we'll just click OK. And I will expand this out a little bit. You see that it gives us the mean, the standard error, median, mode, etc, etc, etc. If I had done the same thing with a second set of data, I'm going to copy and paste some of it just so that I can have a look. And I do the same thing again. So I'll do the summary statistics for this. I'm going to pick descriptive statistics. My input range this time is going to be these two sets. They're grouped by columns in that they are different by column. I'm going to put the output range to be here at the right and summary statistics and hit OK. You'll actually see that it will break it down into two bits. So it will not only give me the mean for the number of students, it'll give me the mean for the second set of data as well, and all the different things they're contained within. And it can be useful for making quick observations about the differences between the means and the medians and the modes and the standard deviation. Some of these you may have no idea what they are, and then you can't compare about it. Okay, so they are not relevant. Although I will point out that your histogram approximates the distribution of it, and like a value for the skewness of being 0.9364, you'll see that it's a positive number, and this is a positive skew, and quite positive as it turns around. And we could do the same for the second one and get a similar kind of result. So while we didn't do a measure for the skew and just look at the general shape, there is a measure here which you can use for that.